Welcome back. You're watching Global Eye. Saudi Arabia and Pakistan signed a defense pact earlier this week that is bound to ruffle some feathers in India's diplomatic corridors. Here's why. As per the pact, any attack on either of the nations would be considered as an attack on both. Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif was in Riyadh earlier this week, where he met with the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. As per the pact, the countries shared strategic interests and close defense cooperation. India has responded to the developments as well. The MEA, during a briefing, cited the deep ties between India and Saudi Arabia. The spokesperson of the Indian Foreign Ministry said, and I quote, "We expect that our strategic partnership will keep in mind mutual interests and sensitivities." Remember, India-Pakistan ties have been in cold storage since the terrorist attack on civilians in Pahalgam in April. This year, 26 people, including 25 tourists, were gunned down in cold blood. I'm now joined by Talmiz Ahmed, former ambassador to Saudi Arabia. Thank you so much, Ambassador Ahmed, for joining us. How does this complicate the situation for India in the neighborhood and with the Middle East?
It's not unnatural that there should be so much speculation about the implications of this agreement on India. But really speaking, this is nothing to do with India. It is not an India-centric agreement. This is a direct product of what has happening in West Asia for some time, but more immediately the assault upon Doha, which I would argue to you has destroyed the prevailing regional security order. It has also discredited the Americans as security guarantors. Not unnaturally, various countries of the region are looking at ways in which they can bolster their security, and Saudi Arabia seems to have turned to its traditional defense partner, Pakistan. Yes, I agree that there is a certain language used in the joint statement and possibly in the agreement that we have not seen, which indicates that one side will support the other if there is any situation of conflict. This is, I think, standard verbiage. I don't imagine any situation in which Saudi troops will range against India on the side of Pakistan. That is not the impulse of this agreement. This is not the context of the agreement, and it does not fit in with the recent engagements that India has had with Saudi Arabia.
Right. You know, the Saudi general, a retired Saudi general in the Okaz paper, the Saudi Okaz paper, sir, has said that this agreement adopts the NATO principle that an attack on one is an attack on all. The article also goes on to say that Pakistan is a declared nuclear power with a missile arsenal and one of the largest armies in the Islamic world. So does Saudi Arabia believe that they can form an alliance and possibly there can be a larger NATO-like alliance among Arab nations with the help of Pakistan's help to have a strong posture against Israel in future?
These are very early days. In times of crisis, you see a lot of rhetoric emerging from the Gulf, which has very often very little to do with reality, but is more concerned with addressing certain immediate challenges. There is a comment about Pakistan, but Pakistan has been associated with providing security to Saudi Arabia at least for the last 60 or 70 years, when they were both part of the same Western alliance, and they were backed by the United States. United States would provide the weaponry to both countries, and Pakistan in Saudi Arabia would provide training, maintenance, and where required, it would also position its troops. The fact that Pakistan is a nuclear weapon state is neither here nor there. The challenge in the region is not from nuclear powers. It is from a mindless and extraordinary recourse to violence on the part of Israel. That has nothing to do with its nuclear status. I don't believe that nuclear weapons serve any useful purpose in the modern day. Most of the conflicts that are taking place are with non-conventional elements, and therefore they do a lot of damage, but there is no occasion where you need to threaten another nation with your nuclear weapon. So I don't believe that any particular value to be attached, it should be attached to the fact that that a certain commentator has referred to Pakistan's nuclear status. What is more important, I would say, is Pakistan's own conventional capability. As far as Saudi Arabia is concerned, it feels insecure. It therefore partners with a nation which has a very large standing army and a degree of capability with regard to the air force, which would give considerable comfort to the Saudis, who are deficient in almost all respects. Hopefully, there will be no reason for for the Israelis to be threatening anybody. These are deterrent measures. I do not envisage a scenario where there will be an actual Israeli attack on any other Gulf country. They've already given the message. The message that they wanted to deliver to the Gulf, they've already given. That Israel is the military hegemon as far as West Asia is concerned, and that it has the capability of targeting anyone and any facility in the region. It has also declared, and this is very important, that the United States is totally complicit in these aggressive measures. It is very astonishing that United States should be the council for restraint. But instead of restraint, what you heard from Secretary of State Rubio, it was the statement that he has given, United States has given a free hand to the Netanyahu government as far as Palestine is concerned, and possibly even a free hand in the rest of West Asia, because there was no criticism in the public domain of what the Israelis had done. I personally feel they have committed a serious strategic blunder. They have broken the security Americans, and now I believe the region will now consult amongst itself, and they will find various alternatives. New players are likely to emerge, and I think there will be a very different regional scenario very soon.
Right. Very important points there, sir. How both the US and Israel, according to you, have created tension and chaos in the region, and they're now leading to different kinds of groupings which we had not seen earlier. But now, when it comes to India, how should India play its cards in the region? The Prime Minister has been reaching out to Gulf nations. We're even negotiating a trade agreement with the Gulf Cooperation Council. What should we do next?
I'm going to say certain things which I have said earlier, but which have completely not been heard. There is a very major churn taking place in South Asia, in West Asia, in the Indian Ocean, all of India's strategic spaces, and finally at the global order, at the global level itself. The order that we were familiar with, the global order we were familiar with, and the arrangements in place, almost all of them are in the process of being overturned. India really needs a complete revamp in terms of its approach to the region and to world affairs. We have been far too complacent, far too inward-looking, and we seem to have prioritized our domestic scenario much more than the region and much more than the regional landscape. Let me put down my points one by one. We need to play a lead role in stabilizing South Asia. South Asia is in extraordinary turmoil. We seem to have turned our back to many of these things. We need to have a regional approach in South Asia, possibly, and this would involve, though it is very difficult to say it in the present context, it would involve re-engagement with Pakistan at the diplomatic level and the revival of SAARC. Further afield, as far as West Asia is concerned, we must become active role players. This kind of bilateral and transactional approach that we've had for so long no longer serves our purpose. Many other players have now entered the scenario. You have China and you have Russia as external players. You already have the Americans, but they don't seem to be doing anything serious. But you have major regional players as well. You have Turkey, Iran, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia. Where is India in this scenario? That is what I would say. India should be a very robust presence in the discussions relating to regional security that are taking place even as I speak to you. Beyond all this, the message that has come from Tianjin is very clear, that we have to work towards a multipolar world order. The present American hegemony and its recourse to militarism, its total blind support to the Israelis, these are not workable, and certainly they are not in the Indian interest. This is my own blueprint, then a thorough revamp of our foreign policy outlook, prioritizing South Asia, looking at West Asia more seriously and actively, and participating in the discussions relating to regional security and the global order.
Very important points there, sir. Thank you so much for being with us here on Global Eye, giving us your view on the Saudi-Pakistan Defence Pact, its ramifications for India, and why India's South Asia policy needs a reset. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Global Eye. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.